Ladies, have you ever found yourself unable to stop thinking about someone? You're replaying conversations, analyzing texts, constantly checking your phone to see if there's a reply. Yet you run a business, manage work projects, maybe you even have a family. You put out fires at work all without breaking a sweat. Yet suddenly, an unclear dynamic with a man has got your brain completely hijacked. If this has happened to you, I want you to know just because you can't stop thinking about him, it doesn't necessarily mean that he's your soulmate or that you're obsessed. What if your brain is just trying to solve an open loop? By the end of this video, you're going to understand why uncertainty makes attraction feel so intense, the psychological mechanism that keeps you stuck, and exactly how to reclaim your mental space. One of the reasons why our brains get mentally preoccupied is because our brains hate unfinished business. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik Effect. In simple terms, unfinished tasks stay active in our brain. Think about it like a browser tab. Although you might not be using that page currently, it's still running in the background. And dating is full of these open loops. Where is this going? Does he like me? Why hasn't he responded back? The more unanswered questions that you have, the more your brain keeps shifting to that unfinished task. And the thing is, research actually shows uncertainty increases romantic fixation. One study showed that women actually think more about a man whose feelings are uncertain than a man whose interest is clearly known. And this wasn't just about how much that they liked the guy. It was a reflection of how much uncertainty he was creating. Uncertainty creates a problem that your brain is desperate to solve, which in turn increases your stress response and narrows your focus. So suddenly you find yourself thinking about him at the gym when you're working out, at work, in bed when you're trying to fall asleep, not necessarily because he's your person, but because your brain has identified the situation as an unfinished task. Now, not all open loops are asking the same question. In order to break this cycle, we have to identify which open loop we're trying to get an answer to. Information loops. Now, these are questions that can actually be answered with data. Did he get my message? Will he follow through? These loops naturally settle when we get the information that we need. We don't always need complete closure in these circumstances. We just need to give our brains enough information that it stops generating different possibilities. Certainty loops. Now, these are questions about the future that can never really be answered fully in the present. How does he really feel? Is he my forever person? These loops are exhausting because you're asking for a guarantee that nobody can really give you the answer to. Meaning loops. Now, this is the one that doesn't get enough attention. Meaning loops sound like, does he understand my intentions? Was I accurately representing myself? For anyone who is anxiously attached, or if you're a fearful avoidant that leans anxious, you might resonate with this one because it hits one of our core wounds, which is being misunderstood. Sometimes we're not trying to solve for the future, we're just trying to repair the meaning of what's already happened. If you could get one answer right now, what would it be? When we're highly activated, we're trying to force a sense of security by getting answers. Tell me how you feel. Tell me where this is going. But as you become more secure, that focus toward the other person starts to turn and shift back toward yourself. The question stops being about controlling the outcome and becomes more about self-representation, self-alignment. Instead of tell me how you feel, a secure woman would say, have I communicated my needs clearly? Have I shown up in a way that aligns with my values and who I am? And once you know that you have done your part, you can leave space for the other person to do theirs. There is a surprising amount of peace in that because you're no longer carrying both sides of the relationship. You're allowing reality to show you what he is actually willing to contribute. Quick pause. Now, if this is something that's resonating with you, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe. It tells the algorithm to push this content toward women who are going through the same exact issues. The biggest mistake that people make is assuming that if they analyze the situation long enough, they'll eventually find the answer that makes them relax. Who has done that? I know I have. And what ends up happening? You spend hours and hours thinking through every conversation, looking through every text, going through every possibility, and it ends up opening even more questions. When uncertainty is the root of the problem, thinking about it more actually expands the branches for your mind to actually explore more. Maybe he's busy, maybe he's losing interest, or maybe I said or did something wrong. The brain mistakes mental activity for mental progress, and it's just not the same. If you're stuck in an information loop, stop and ask yourself, what information am I actually missing? And is it obtainable right now? Because sometimes you just need more time to show you what the answer will be. If you're in a certainty loop, recognize that the future hasn't happened yet, and no amount of overthinking and analyzing will tell you what this person is going to feel next month. The only antidote here, and I know it's incredibly difficult, is patience. And if you're stuck in a meaning loop, realize that you are trying to force another person to see you a certain way. And you cannot overthink yourself into changing their perception. But if you feel that you have represented yourself accurately and honestly, you can have peace with that. So we cannot force ourselves to just stop thinking about this person, because whatever you resist persists, right? Instead, what we need to do is make our lives bigger than the uncertainty. When we're anxiously activated, our world and our focus shrinks. We spend more time analyzing than creating, and more time waiting than actually living. Even if you don't feel like it, you have to choose to participate in your own life. So go to the gym, focus on your goals, work on your business, do something fun that gets you outside of the house and outside of your mind. Returning to your own life requires and builds critical mental discipline. It trains you to feel an emotional impulse without automatically obeying it. When we're activated, we will feel the impulse to check our phone, replay conversations, or possibly send another text. Don't do that yet, because every time that you do, you're reinforcing that anxious habit. However, every time that you notice that impulse and you choose to not follow it, you're actually strengthening your mental control. I practice this discipline constantly through meditating, fasting, and going to the gym. The content of the impulse changes, but the skill is exactly the same. Learning that an urge can exist without it becoming a command. Sometimes an open loop doesn't close because you get the answer that you wanted. It closes because your life became too big to fit inside of that question. So, just a reminder, mental preoccupation doesn't automatically mean that he is the one. It's just a sign that your brain is trying to resolve a missing piece of data, a future uncertainty, or is touching a core wound around being misunderstood. The more secure you become, the less your piece is designated by what information that you get from others, and the more it depends on self-trust. What if the goal isn't to just get him out of your head? What if the goal is to become someone who can experience uncertainty without losing herself in the process? Because whether this relation works out or it doesn't, you still get to take with you the woman that you're becoming. Let me know down in the comments, which loop are you getting stuck on right now? Is it a meaning loop, an information loop, or a certainty loop? And if you want to see exactly how you react when uncertainty hits, take my free assessment, the pressure test, linked in the description below. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.